Hey Dom, this is Dave Decide. Today I want to get into why Army's upset with Congress after they mentioned a new update on the BTS Enlistment and what happened there. I also want to get into Jin being scared over a new event he is attending. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab a dumpling, see spilling much merch, and let's get into it. We woke up to a nice message on Weverse today where Jin decided to give us an update on what he will be doing for the day. I think it's awesome that BTS members like to hop on social media and update what they're doing. They know that a lot of armies are constantly curious and they and other artists are not obligated to do this, but I think the members know that it makes us feel closer to them. But Jin talked about where he will be, and he mentioned that he will be appearing at the COEX movie premiere. And he attended said premiere and did all of that while most of the international armies or American armies were asleep. He continued this post by talking about how he wishes for Army to be there and to cheer him on so he doesn't get scared. I'm so happy that he attended another movie premiere and got to do what he absolutely loves to do, going to these movie premieres. He will also get to get chummy with the casting directors and all that. All the producers are also at this event, as well as get more familiar with the acting space. For Jin to even be invited to go to a bunch is pretty crazy because he hasn't been in the acting space for very much. So this definitely goes to show that he could be working on something very soon. I don't know why he would be too nervous. The only thing I can think of as a reason is that maybe he's scared that he might feel like he doesn't belong, but he definitely belongs there. And he definitely deserves to go and be on that big screen. Of course, photos of the event and premiere flooded the internet, and we got to see how he was dressed and just how amazing he looked. I also think that when BTS was promoted more as a group, it is limited to the amount of stuff like this that the individual members can do. So they definitely were not allowed to attend events or a lot of events as just one member. And I think this was something that the members had more of a promise to each other about. I always admire how other groups were able to do this, and thus it ended up really helping their career and getting their individual names out there. We definitely want to see more from Jin very soon, and I hope the more is acting stuff. About 6 hours later, so American armies were still pretty much all asleep, Jin posted about how he returned from the premiere and how he was feeling. He talked about how his trip was safe and thanked armies for the support. Now you can see why armies literally don't like to sleep. It was only 6 hours, but if you wake up to a full-blown event that came and gone, you feel like you've just slept through an entire week. You wake up to all these beautiful photos of Jin and the premiere. You wake up to so many people trending things and complimenting Jin, and sometimes even cute things a specific member would do at the event. And of course, you'd miss Jin being on Weverse and posting about the event. What's crazy is that you literally had people in Korea rush over to the COEX Megabox area in Korea, and us American armies were just asleep. A lot of things happened within the last few nights or so. J-Hope ended up making history, which was talked about, but pretty briefly, and armies were definitely upset about that. J-Hope broke Lollapalooza's record for the most sold tickets, and I think he had over 100,000 people attend just to see him perform, which is just absolutely insane. Armies were speculating online that it was strange because every time something record-breaking or big happens, K-media will just report on the BTS Enlistment. Media tends to report on things that people want to read, and they have their way of gauging that. For some reason, the media stopped reporting on the Ukraine war. That's still going on, by the way, but no articles. Bottom line is, people are waiting on the edge of their seat to hear about the military news. Almost every single day or week, there is a new update on BTS and their status, especially now since it's creeping so close. So no, it's not a coincidence that BTS's enlistment news is coming out when J-Hope breaks a record. BTS breaks records every day, and few of those days will have military news. The K-pop fandom especially likes to put two and two together that often don't relate or even need to be put together just to make their own assumptions. However, the new news of the BTS military status is quite shocking and very unexpected. The defense minister of South Korea spoke up and talked about everything. They mentioned giving BTS a special allowance, which I initially thought meant money, but no, it's an exception. The general rule for South Korean military is that they are not allowed to work or make money during their enlistment. So you can't bring your laptop and all that and still continue to work. And basically you treat the enlistment as your full-time job during the duration of the service. The minister said that they would consider allowing BTS to fully work and serve at the same time instead of giving them a full exemption of the service. But this is not okay, like not even close to okay, because you don't sleep much during military training. It's not easy. And yeah, sometimes idols get favorable treatment, but the nature of the service is to train and all that. Ultimately, what will happen is if any of the members go and are allowed to work, they will be forced to work. Imagine if BTS does a show and Jin doesn't show because he's tired or whatever. Netizens or haters can claim that he is lazy because he can physically show up. The law is allowing him to, but he doesn't because training is tough on the body. The minister also mentions that during the service, they could organize a situation where they would allow BTS staff to work on a specific training room and also allow the boys to practice in said room. So now the boys are not legally obligated to perform 2 jobs and essentially serve the country twice, but there is now pressure because everyone will be expecting them to do both. Jin is turning 30. You can't do this to a 30-year-old. It's at this point where this plan is just terrible. BTS also has staff of like 100 people. I think if you look up HYBE's staff, it's like 1,000 people or something. All those 1,000 people don't all work just for BTS. They also help out other groups that HYBE manages or does other company-related things. But I would imagine a decent chunk of those staff members are dedicated to BTS. And so bringing those people to the military grounds, that's a lot of people, and more than one room would be needed. And if given the promise of this, you also have to give another room for the dance practices. And who is funding this? The Korean people. So potentially hundreds of thousands of additional dollars, maybe every month, it goes into keeping this one person on the campgrounds. If they needed to do all that and set this all up, then Jin is pretty much obligated now to perform 2 jobs for 2 years. This is not a solution, and I'm not really understanding how this plan was thought of. It's clear that the health of another human being is not really being taken into consideration. If Jin needing to work is a big deal because BTS brings in so much money, people who will be mad for 2 seconds and then continue their life. But what will end up happening if Jin performs 2 jobs is he will be burnt out. And I'm assuming the law would also go into full effect for each member that enlists too. Armies were all understandably super upset over this and demanded that the minister and Congress people basically remove themselves from their position of power. However, keep in mind this law has not yet been enacted and nothing is 100% yet. They said that they are still working out the kinks, and some of the best ways to work out the kinks is hearing the public opinion. Then they can know what direction to take or not to take. They said that they are considering this and maybe other things and alternative options. My opinion is that they should let Jin just do a month or a shortened version of the service. This idea that the exemption would be unfair is a ridiculous thing to say, because what BTS has offered the country is more than fair for the country to return one favor. And if you're completely unsure, then cast a vote, because at this point, if you're scared of public backlash, either choice they make will receive public backlash. If you exempt BTS, you'll have conservatives mad, but if you don't, you will have the entire BTS army mad. So either way, it will be intense. Just do whatever is best for the country. I highly doubt having 7 more people trained for the military and 7 people who, if a war did fully break out, would probably not be ever called on. I doubt this would be useful for the country. The back and forth of this idea that they may or may not get exempt, and this is only something that is causing them possible emotional distress, and it seems like it could also cause them a lot of unsure decisions. And when doing business, you can't keep making decisions based on someone else that isn't in the company. And BTS has to, because this is the government, and they have to find a way to work around the government. But I am very, very curious to hear your thoughts on this situation, and what would you do in this situation? Also, let me know if you're an attorney and what you would do or what legally BTS can do. I'm very curious to know. Also, how do you feel about Jin's movie premiere and him being a little scared of it? Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.